The day Elijah graduated from university was one of the happiest days his family had ever known. The sun seemed brighter, the wind felt softer, even the birds appeared to sing louder than usual. Mr. and Mrs. Ngi sat proudly among the hundreds of parents gathered at the university graduation ceremony. Their clothes were simple, old, and carefully ironed for the occasion. They were not wealthy people. In fact, most of their lives had been spent battling poverty. But on that day, none of that mattered. Their son was graduating. There were days they went to bed hungry. Days when they borrowed money from neighbors and friends. Days when Mrs. Ngi sold vegetables from sunrise to sunset and still returned home with barely enough money to buy food. But through it all, they always found a way to pay Elijah's school fees and provide his school needs. One day, Mrs. Ngi would always say, "Ma pikin go earn all this suffer." Mr. Ngi would nod silently. He believed it too. Education was their only hope. And that day, that hope was walking across a stage in a graduation gown. When Elijah's name was called, his mother immediately burst into tears. Elijah walked confidently across the stage and collected his degree in software engineering. Second class, not the best result and not the worst. But it was enough to begin a new life, at least according to Elijah and his parents. After the ceremony, families flooded the compound, taking pictures. Mr. Ngi stood awkwardly in front of the camera. "Pa, why you stand like man wey peace the holy?" Mrs. Ngi said, laughing. Everyone laughed. "Massa, I no be used to the kind thing dem. Una leave me," he replied. Elijah wrapped his arms around both parents. "Pa, smile small no." Mr. Ngi finally smiled. The camera flashed. None of them knew that years later, Elijah would look at that photograph and remember it as the last day life felt easy. That evening, they celebrated with food from a small roadside restaurant not too far from their home in Bamenda town. It was not luxurious, but it felt like a feast. As they ate, Mr. Ngi raised a glass of freshly tapped palm wine. "For my pikin, you don't make me and your mommy proud." Everyone lifted their glasses. "To Elijah," they all shouted. The young graduate smiled cheerfully. For the first time in years, he could see the finish line. To him, suffering was finally over, or so he thought. After graduation, Elijah decided he was going to leave town as there were lesser opportunities. He moved to Douala, the economic town of Cameroon. He'd heard and seen how youths in this town went to Douala and came back with wealth. So he knew his case wasn't going to be different. Also, considering the fact that he had a degree, he knew he had an advantage over many people. While in Douala, he squatted with an old secondary school mate for some time while searching for a job. Day after day, he would go out and come back frustrated. No jobs, no one ready to give him a chance. He sent job applications to government ministries, private companies, banks, telecommunication firms, software companies, anything remotely connected to technology. Every morning, he woke up hopeful, and every evening, he came back disappointed. One afternoon, his phone rang. An unknown number. He immediately knew it was one of the companies. His heart nearly exploded with excitement. He picked up the call and it was a telecommunication company calling him for an interview. He immediately borrowed money for transportation and rushed there. The interview lasted 20 minutes. The panel seemed impressed. Everything was going smoothly until one of them asked, "How many years of experience do you have?" Elijah swallowed. "This would be my first professional job, sir." The interviewer's smile faded slightly. "I see." 3 days later, the rejection email arrived. We regret to inform you, Elijah stopped reading. He already understood, no experience. Again, the rejections continued. Each one hurt more than the last. We need people who already know the work, they would often tell him. How will I gain experience if nobody gives me a chance? Elijah would always think to himself after every rejection. Several months passed and Elijah's friend was getting fed up with Elijah's presence. Most times, he got the food they ate and he paid the rent and bills alone since Elijah had no job. He was just a truck pusher at the motor park, so he managed to get himself a single room in a dirty neighborhood. He couldn't just tell Elijah to leave, so he made up a story. Bro, I no sure say you go fit continue for stay for year, he said one evening as they sat in the small room eating garri. My petite sir dey come and you know say the room over small for we three, he continued. Elijah saw this coming. If he only considered his pride as a man, he would have left a long time ago. But he had nowhere to go. He knew no one in Douala, so he had to persevere. Okay bro, I understand. I go find way comot any of these days. It come na when? Elijah asked. Next week, his friend responded. Okay bro, nevertheless, I appreciate you plenty for all things you don't do for me, Elijah said. He didn't know where he would go, but he had to stay strong as a man. Few days later, Elijah was out on the streets. At this point, he had given up searching for white-collar jobs, so he asked around for any kind of job he could do to survive. That's when he met Carlos. Carlos worked as a laborer in most construction sites. He offered to take Elijah along. He also lived under the bridge. The university graduate who once dreamed of working in a modern office now spent days covered in dust and sweat. Yet, every time he received money, he thought only about one thing: his parents. One evening, his phone rang. It was his father. Elijah smiled before answering. Good evening, Papa. But the voice on the other end sounded frustrated. Elijah, now what did it happen? The young man sighed. He knew this conversation. I did try my best, Papa. Try your best? His father snapped. Your friend them way wuna comot school di buy motor them. They did build house them for their mommy and their papa them. Tell me something. Now which people hold your matter? The question pierced Elijah's heart. No, Papa. Then why your own life do go na back? Elijah stared at the sky. For a moment, he had no answer, because he was asking himself the same question every day. I don't know, Papa, Elijah answered, his eyes wet with uncontrollable tears. His father sighed heavily. At the old na old so my pikin. I know, Papa. I be check say by now things them the go down better. Elijah couldn't control the tears. His father spoke again. Good night. The call ended. Elijah sat alone for a long time. The words replayed repeatedly inside his mind. Are you cursed? For the first time in his life, he wondered the same thing. A few minutes later, his phone rang again. His mother. Only she called after arguments with his father. Hello, Mom. My pikin. Just hearing her voice made him feel better. No hear anything where your papa did talk. Elijah laughed weakly. Mommy, you hear all thing? You know as his voice big. They both laughed. Then her voice softened. Your papa love you, she said. He just be worried for you. I know, Mommy, Elijah replied. You be good man, Elijah. You no sabi thief. You no get bad friend them. You dey follow God the word. Elijah wiped his eyes. Sometime them I dey wonder whether all that thing them be enough, mommy. Elijah interrupted. His mother became silent. Then she said something he would never forget. Better people no dey always win quick, my pikin. A tear rolled down Elijah's cheek. But when they last win, it did stay. He closed his eyes, holding on to those words, even when life gave him every reason to let go. Little did Elijah's parents know he was living under the bridge. In fact, he was under the bridge during the last call. At first, he felt ashamed. A university graduate sleeping under a bridge. Carlos, his newfound friend, was different. He was older, rough around the edges, but kind. The street had hardened him without stealing his humanity. The first night they met, Carlos shared half of his food. Tu es nouveau ici? Elijah looked a bit confused. Sorry, I don't speak French. Carlos smiled. Oh, you be Bamenda man? Yes, my name na Elijah. Okay, I be Carlos. Welcome for ghetto. Carlos was from Douala, but he spoke and understood Pidgin. Elijah smiled genuinely, and from that day forward, an unlikely friendship began. Little did Elijah know that God was quietly positioning people who would one day change the course of his life forever. And one of those people was about to drive into his life in a beautiful car, a man named Hilton. The following morning began like most mornings for Elijah, hard, cold, and uncertain. The first thing he saw when he opened his eyes was the concrete on the side of the bridge. The second thing he saw was Carlos, already awake. His friend sat nearby, chewing on a piece of bread he had somehow managed to find. Morning, future office worker, Carlos joked. Elijah laughed. Shut up, Chris man. Carlos threw half of the bread towards him. Chop. I know the hungry. Na that kind of talk wey hungry man they ever talk am. Elijah smiled and accepted it. They ate quietly, not because they had nothing to say, but because poverty often speaks louder in silence. After finishing breakfast, if one could call it that, Elijah stood up and stretched. Wusa you did go work today? Carlos asked. For Marche, Elijah answered. Okay, I did go shanty. The two friends fist bumped each other before going their separate ways. Elijah was walking along a busy road, carrying a small sack of goods for a trader who paid him for his deliveries. His clothes were worn. His sandals were nearly falling apart. Sweat covered his face. Then suddenly, beep! A car horn sounded behind him. Elijah stepped aside. The horn sounded again. He frowned, but continued walking. The car slowed down. At first, he assumed the driver was impatient, but then the expensive black SUV stopped completely, right beside him. People on the street turned to look. Cars like that do not stop for people like Elijah. Naturally, he ignored it and kept walking. Then he heard footsteps behind him, fast footsteps. Excuse me, Elijah turned. A well-dressed man was jogging towards him. For a second, Elijah thought there must be some mistake. The man's wristwatch alone probably cost more than anything Elijah owned. Yes? Elijah asked curiously. The man stared at him and then smiled. Elijah? Elijah frowned. Yes. The stranger laughed. No way. What? Elijah asked curiously. The man shook his head in disbelief. You don't recognize me? Elijah looked carefully. The face felt familiar, but he couldn't place it. The beard was different. The haircut was different. Then suddenly, his eyes widened. Hilton? The man pointed excitedly. Finally, Elijah froze. Hilton from CSS 305? "The one and only," he replied. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then both men burst into laughter. "My goodness," Elijah shouted. "What happened to you?" Hilton laughed. "What happened to me? Look at you." Then the two men embraced each other. It had been years since university, years since group projects. Neither imagined life would take them in such different directions. "Get in," Hilton pointed towards the SUV. Elijah immediately shook his head. "No." "Why?" "I am dirty." "So?" Elijah hesitated. Then Hilton grabbed his shoulder. "My brother, get inside the car." Reluctantly, Elijah obeyed. As they drove away, he couldn't stop looking around. The leather seats, the air conditioning, the touchscreen dashboard. It felt like another universe. Meanwhile, Hilton kept stealing glances at him. Something wasn't right. Not even close. This wasn't the Elijah he remembered. University Elijah was always cheerful, optimistic, always helping people even when he had little. Now he looked exhausted, broken, older than his years. 20 minutes later, they arrived at a beautiful restaurant. They entered. The smell of food alone almost made Elijah emotional. He couldn't remember the last time he had eaten in a restaurant. A proper restaurant, not a roadside store, not leftovers. They sat down. A waiter arrived. "What would you like, sir?" Elijah looked at the menu and then looked again. The prices alone were terrifying. Hilton noticed. "Order whatever you want." No. Elijah, I am serious." "So am I." After several minutes of arguing, Elijah finally ordered. When the food arrived, Hilton immediately noticed something. The speed, the desperation and hunger. Elijah was trying to hide it, but hunger had a language of its own, and Hilton understood every word. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Elijah broke the silence. "I know." Hilton looked up. "Know what?" "You're wondering how I ended up like this." Hilton hesitated, then nodded honestly. "I am." Elijah smiled sadly. "Fair enough." He took a deep breath and then began telling his story. The job applications, the rejections, the interviews, the years of disappointment, slipping under the bridge and more. By the time he finished, Hilton was speechless, completely speechless. He simply stared, trying to process everything. Finally, he spoke. "My God." Elijah laughed weakly. That's usually people's reaction. Hilton shook his head. "No, bro." His voice cracked slightly. "You didn't deserve this." Elijah smiled sadly. Life doesn't always care what people deserve. Those words hit Hilton hard, very hard, because deep down he knew something. The biggest difference between them wasn't intelligence. It was opportunity. Hilton's father had opened doors for him. Doors Elijah never had, and that realization hurt. When lunch ended, Hilton reached into his wallet. He pulled out some money, folded it, and handed it to Elijah. Elijah immediately stepped back. "No, bro, I can't." "Take it," Hilton insisted, then forced the money into his hand. Elijah looked down. 20,000 francs. His eyes widened. For a second, he thought he was saying things. To Hilton, it was probably ordinary. To Elijah, it felt like a miracle. His hands began trembling. "You didn't have to do this." Hilton smiled. "I know." Tears gathered in Elijah's eyes, not because of the money, but because somebody cared, because somebody saw him, because somebody remembered him, and for the first time in years, he felt human again. After Hilton drove away, Elijah remained standing on the roadside for several minutes. 20,000 francs? He looked at the money again, just to make sure he wasn't imagining things. The money was still there. It was real. For years, life had given him disappointment after disappointment. He had become so used to bad news that receiving something good almost felt suspicious. He laughed softly to himself. Then suddenly tears filled his eyes. Not because of the amount, but because of what it represented. Hope. Someone believed in him. Someone cared. Someone saw value in him when the rest of the world had already looked away. The first thing Elijah did was find a mobile money agent. Without hesitation, he sent 10,000 francs directly to his parents. The moment the transaction was completed, he smiled. For the first time in a long time, he felt like a son again, not a disappointment. Few minutes later, his phone rang. He immediately answered. "Good evening, Mom." "Ma pikin," she exclaimed excitedly. "Now you send me money." Elijah laughed. "Yes, ma." The woman was almost shouting. "Papa God, 10,000. People around her could hear the excitement in her voice. "You win a jumbo, ma pikin." Elijah laughed harder. "No, Mama." "Then wusa you comot with that plenty money?" "Today just be fine day, Mommy." Mrs. Ngi became silent for a moment. Then Elijah heard her crying softly. Not tears of sadness, tears of relief. "Ma pikin." "Yes, Mommy." "I don't pray every day say may God bless you and put our enemies to shame." "I know, Mommy. I pray make all your days them be good like today." A smile spread across Elijah's face. "Amen." "Make that laugh no come out your face again." "Amen." "Thank you, my pikin." "No, Mommy, thank you." "For wetin?" "For the support way you dey give me all time." She smiled. "Abeg, salute Papa for me. He go here." After the call ended, Elijah sat quietly for a moment. His heart felt lighter. Later that evening, he returned home under the bridge. Carlos immediately noticed something. "Why you dey smile like person wey comot for knack something?" he asked. Elijah laughed. "Thing wey happen today better pass knacking." Carlos sat up. "What happened?" Elijah told him everything. Carlos listened with wide eyes. When Elijah finished, Carlos slapped his own forehead dramatically. "This one sound like Nollywood film, oh." Then Elijah reached into his pocket and handed Carlo 2,000 francs. Carlos stared. "Now wait till this, Frero. Take 'em. Find something chop before you faint." Carlos jumped in excitement. "Oh, my brother from Bamenda. How you know say hungry dey kill me?" Elijah burst into laughter. "You might look at the 2,000 francs as nothing, but under the bridge, that was big money. It could sustain one for up to a week." From Carlos's reaction, you could see that he was super grateful for Elijah's gesture. That same evening, Hilton arrived home. His father was seated in the living room reading the newspaper. Chief Njikam was a respected businessman, strict, disciplined, and practical. The kind of man who believed hard work solved most problems. "Good evening, Dad." Hilton sat down opposite him. "Can I ask you something?" His father lowered the newspaper. "Depends." Hilton smiled. "I met someone today." "A woman?" "No." "Then why are you smiling?" Hilton laughed. "My university friend." His father nodded. And for nearly 20 minutes, Hilton told Elijah's story. By the time he had finished, even Mr. Njikam looked thoughtful. "He still sends money home?" "Every chance he gets, Dad." The old man nodded slowly. "Interesting." The room became quiet. Then Mr. Njikam finally spoke. "Bring me his documents." Hilton sat upright. Really? Don't get excited. His father raised a finger. I'm not promising him a job. I understand. I'll speak with my brother. Hilton grinned. His father tried to hide his smile. You're acting as if I am giving you the job. I know. Go and sleep. Thank you, Dad. The following week passed slowly for Elijah. Very slowly. Every morning, he would wake up wondering if Hilton would call, and every evening he'd return disappointed. By the 8th day, he had almost convinced himself nothing would happen. Then one morning, his phone rang. Hilton. Immediately, Elijah answered. My brother, good morning. Good morning, how are you? Managing as usual. Hilton laughed. Do you still have your documents? Elijah frowned. What documents? Certificates, transcripts, etc. Yes. Everything. Hilton smiled on the other end. Good. Elijah's heart started racing. Why? My uncle wants to meet you. Silence. Complete silence. Elijah? No answer. Elijah? Still nothing. Finally, are you serious? Hilton laughed. Very serious. For a moment, Elijah forgot how to breathe. His entire body went numb. After years of rejection, after years of humiliation, after years of waiting, a door was finally opening. Bro, yes? I don't know what to say. Say you'll be there. I'll be there. Good. I'll be there before the cock crows. Hilton burst into laughter. That night, Elijah could not sleep. Hope kept him awake. For years, he had prayed for an opportunity. Now, it was standing directly in front of him. All he had to do was reach for it. As he lay under the bridge, staring into the darkness, he whispered softly, Please, God. His eyes closed. Don't let this one slip away. For the first time in many years, the future felt close enough to touch. And by this time tomorrow, everything would be different.